Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe not that much, give or take, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because we don't eat extravagantly, and usually at dinner all we ever had was water.
Yeah.
I brew my own iced tea as much as possible, and we get a few little groceries. We First thing we do is buy the cheap styrofoam throwaway cooler that lasts for about 2 weeks, and it had a hole in it after 3 days, so we had to buy some garbage bags to put in it to keep it from leaking. And hey, it made it through, and we abandoned it in our last hotel. Worked like a champ.
I used to do that too. You stop by Walmart, and I think they're less than $3 a piece.
Right.
Yeah, I used to do that. I now, for my birthday, I asked the kids one year to get me a Pelican cooler. So the Pelican is like a Yeti, but it's on wheels, and it's U.S. made, not foreign made. So I basically pack my clothes in that thing, put it on the airplane. When I get there, I unpack the clothes and I fill it full of ice and food, and that's my food for the week. It'll hold ice for a whole week in the desert.
Wow.
So that way you don't have to buy ice. You don't have to. I stopped by Walmart and spent about $70 on food. So I spent $70 on food, and $10 a night on the hotel. I usually fly into Las Vegas. That's usually about it's probably about $400 round trip, maybe a little more than that. The rental car, they used to be cheap. I used to get a rental car for about $30 a day, but they're more than that. But yeah, for just a little bit of money, I mean, you can do it cheap like me if you don't mind sleeping on the ground. You can do it mid-range like you and your wife did, or you can go ahead and shoot the wad if you want to too. But there's no excuse for not doing that.
Get out and see the world. You can think you're seeing it on television, but it's not even close. You're seeing what somebody else is seeing through a lens.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a little circle when you've got the whole rest of it out there around it, which doesn't even do it justice. Some of the landscapes out there in the West, oh gosh, in Arches, we took a hike there last year, and it was just unreal at sunrise there. It was just a big Western landscape like you see in a movie, only it's 360. It's like you try and do the panoramic on a phone, and it's like, man, the picture doesn't do it justice. It's not even close.
Yeah, Arches is beautiful. We stayed in Moab, Utah when we went to Arches. It's just it's a magical place. It just is.
Yep.
Yeah. Last question. When's the next adventure?
Well, we've got some sites on Hawaii this winter yet.
Okay.
Southwest again ran a super cheap airfare there. Basically, one way was 189, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we plan on going to Maui, but Maui is not a cheap spot either.
No, it's not.
Because a condo there ends up being, the cheapest you can get is about $900 if you're lucky, and
Mm-hmm.
chances are you're going to be paying closer to 12, 14, 1600, just depending on what you want. I mean, there's hostels there, but I think I'm a little aged out on something like that.
Understood. Yeah, we took advantage of the cheap airfares to Hawaii too. We'll be going in February, and we've got the ticket to Honolulu, so we're just staying in Oahu for 8 days, and not renting a car because you can take public transportation in Oahu. If we needed a car for the day, we'll rent a car for the day and turn it in that night. I've got Hilton Honor points where I didn't have to pay for a hotel, and round trip for both of us, $636.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, when they ran that fare, it's like, well, what are the rent-a-car prices first? It's like, okay, they've dropped down to more realistic. It was like about 600, I think. And actually there, my son had told me again about, what was it? National had some kind of a club you join, and they ended up being about $300 cheaper than our usual ones. And it's like, well, this is a pretty good deal. So it's like, okay, yeah, what the heck? Let's line it up.
Well, and Maui is different from Oahu, but I will tell you that when we travel quite often, we don't rent a car, because if you're in a city anyway, you can get public transportation. And like we stay in hotels, and sometimes a hotel costs $40 a night to rent a car. So if you're paying $70 a day for a car and $40 a night to rent a car, that's $110 a day to have a car. That's a lot of Uber rides and bus fares.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah, there's some spots if I was going to go back, I wouldn't even think of renting a car. New York City, don't rent a car
No.
there. You're silly. The subways are great, and I
Mhm.
don't know why you'd want to own a car there. You can never find a parking spot anyway.
San
In
Diego's the
Washington,
same
D.C.
way.
Washington, D.C., the same thing. You know,
Miami Beach, same thing.
Yep. There's spots where you don't rent a car. It's useless, and it's probably more of a hindrance than anything.
That's it. That's exactly right. Well, wonderful. We're in the middle of, well, we're not even into winter yet officially. That's not for a few more days. But when do you put your plants in the ground? And I guess you're going to go ahead and harvest them this spring, and you'll be at the Washington Farmers Market again, correct?
Yes, I will. That's my plans right now.
When does that start, and how do people find you?
The Washington Farmers Market will start the first Saturday of April, and it ends the last Saturday of October. So I'll be there. When you're looking at it from the street, I'm the first guy on the left. That's been my spot. I've been going there since involved with the market since 1989, I guess.
Very good. And I assume you'll have some Swiss chard again.
I've got the seed. It'll be going in the ground probably in March sometime.
Very good. Very good. Tim Diermann, thank you very much for your travel log. I appreciate it. And you and your lovely wife have a good weekend and a Merry Christmas and happy travels.
And you too, and everybody out there, travel. It's worth it.
You bet. Thank you, Tim.
You bet. Have a good day.
Okay, you too, sir. Well, that's it. We're done. JamesStrongShow@hotmail.com. That's the email address. If you're wanting to get the podcast, you can find it on Facebook. You can find it any place you get podcasts, Spreaker.com, or send me an email. Send your email address to JamesStrongShow@hotmail.com. I will go ahead and send you a link to the podcast after it drops. You can download it and listen to it at your leisure. Till next time, this is James Strong saying adios.